Hey team, welcome back to the Wilson Combat channel. I'm Massad Ayoob. This of course is Bill Wilson. We are hoping you'll subscribe to the channel because we have a lot of interesting stuff. At the moment, you'll forgive us if we whisper, but we've been asked to talk about the pros and cons of silencers. And yes, silencer is an acceptable term. I'm going to tag team immediately to a man who uses suppressors, silencers more than I do, Bill Wilson.
Welcome, good to have you back on the ranch.
Hey, it's good to be here.
As you know, and the people that know me well, I'm a pretty serious hunter and specifically a pretty serious hog hunter.
That may be the understatement of the week, folks.
I'm affectionately called the Boermeister on, the Texas hunting forum. So anyway, I do a lot of hog hunting, and therefore I like to tailor my gear, to get the best performance, when I'm hog hunting. And I can tell you, the suppressor / silencer, a lot of times you'll get multiple shots on hogs where you wouldn't otherwise when you're making a lot of noise. So that's a real big plus there, because typically, if you're downrange from a shot with a suppressor, it's hard to identify for sure where the shot came from. And so if you're in a group of hogs, like in an open field or something like that, they don't really know where the shot come from, and they don't really know which way to run. And so if you get a group of them out there and you shoot one of them, and some of them run right and some of them run left, and then they're like, oh, did I go the wrong way? And they have a tendency to stop and hesitate and, okay, did I make the right decision? And give you multiple shots. Where if you shoot a loud gun, they can pretty much pinpoint where the shot come from, and it scares them a lot worse, and they usually just all run off in the same direction, and you've got one shot, and that's pretty much it. So it's a big advantage for hunting that way. And another big advantage for me, I always take my dogs with me, not to chase hogs. They're just companions, as you know. They're just big pets. Occasionally I'll get a chance to either shoot from the Kawasaki Mule or the Jeep, or very close proximity of it. And I don't want to damage my dog's ears any more than necessary. And so having a suppressor on the gun isn't near so hard on my dog's ear, because what acute hearing dogs have. So the same shot actually hurts their ears worse than it does a human. And so that's another real important positive, I mean, the biggies on the suppressor are makes the gun quieter, dramatically reduces recoil, eliminates muzzle flash, and for the most part, improves accuracy from what I can tell. And it's debatable whether or not accuracy improvements because you shoot it better because it's quieter and kicks less, or if it actually does reduce group size. But I have personally never experienced a reduction in accuracy when I put a suppressor on the gun.
That seems to be a universal observation. By the way, for some of our newer viewers, we should mention that we're recording today at the Circle WC Ranch in Texas. Throughout America, but particularly in Texas, hog infestation has been absolutely devastating to agriculture and to local wildlife. And that's one reason hog eradication on a large scale has become necessary. We've got to remember also, it's not just the dog's hearing, it's our own. The legislation that has legalized silencers now in so many states is often called the Hearing Protection Bill or the Hearing Preservation Bill.
Yeah, like the hog issue here in Texas. We've got a biologist assigned to the ranch here from the Texas Parks and Wildlife. And part of his management program for the ranch is a certain amount of hog eradication, so there's more food for the deer and the turkeys and the other wildlife, because they're pretty devastating on not just cattle pastures and hay fields and things like that, but also they eat up an awful lot of food that the other game could eat. So that's one of our management protocols for the ranch is they want us to shoot a certain amount of hogs to keep the population down.
Now, beyond hunting, going into competitive shooting, and particularly into firearms training and firearms safety and introducing new people to the gun. Any of us who've taught anyone else to shoot know how much flinch is induced by the loud report of the rifle, particularly a high-powered hunting rifle, or even a handgun. With these, the new shooter can concentrate on safe, accurate manipulation of the firearm. Another element is home defense. Now, any of us who might want to use a weapon with some power to it, such as, let's say, an AR-15. As we've mentioned on other Wilson Combat videos, the AR-15 is a very suitable home defense weapon. In caliber 5.56 millimeter, with a soft nose or a hollow point bullet, you're not going to have excessive penetration through walls or other construction materials. But what you are going to get is a literally deafening blast. With something that reduces that, the individual is less likely to be stunned by their own gunfire. And more to the point, if you've ever had to fire a high-powered rifle without hearing protection, even in a hunting environment, you notice for a while you've got some ringing in the ears and all that. Now, you have a threat inside the house. Your shot may have neutralized the first threat, but there may be accomplices. This is a really lousy time to be stunning out and reducing one of your primary sensory inputs. So there are a lot of tactical advantages to the well-prepared homeowner of using a legal suppressed firearm. And legal, obviously, here is the operative term. The one downside that I see is, any of you watching this know that there are hunters and lifelong gun owners out there who are shocked to find out that in most jurisdictions it is absolutely legal, if you jump through the appropriate hoops, for you to own a suppressor on your firearm or even to own a fully automatic firearm. If that's the case, what do you think is the state of emotion on that with the average citizen who constitutes the jury pool? And if you got particularly an anti-gun prosecutor, their argument's going to be only an assassin, only a mafioso, only a cocaine cowboy would use a silencer. Will that happen? We don't yet know. It's unexplored territory. I've not yet found a case where the countless numbers of legal suppressors in this country have been used in an actual home defense shooting of another human being. What I have seen is other NFA weapons that were legally owned that have been, machine guns in those cases, at the minimum went in front of a grand jury, and in one case that I recall, went to a full murder trial. Now, the defendant was acquitted. It was an utterly justified shooting with a legally owned full-auto Ruger AC 5.56. And the man who was killed was, in fact, a murderous gangbanger who was advancing on that individual with a deadly weapon, and he had no choice but to shoot. Nonetheless, he was put through the torment of an unnecessary trial before his acquittal. And the feedback we all got from the people familiar with that case was that the prosecutor was sort of like, oh my God, only a thug would use a machine gun. Here in the Commonwealth, a gentleman would have used a shotgun. And as ridiculous as that attitude seems to us, it's something that might apply. So it's something for you to consider. And if you are the first one to use a suppressor in home defense that we can find out about, you'll be the test case. If you do know of an actual case of that, please let us know in the comments section. Here at Wilson Combat, we invite your comments, and yes, we do actually read them. And if you know of such a case, give us the name of the case and the location, and we'll follow up on that and get back to you here on the Wilson Combat channel. Bill, anything to add?
Well, like I said, we went over pretty much the positives of the suppressor. It's reduce the sound, reduce the recoil, eliminate the muzzle flash, potentially improve accuracy. Okay, there are a few negatives. If you're putting the suppressor on a bolt gun, I mean, there's basically, in my mind, only three negatives. You got the constant negative of the weight and the tax to get a suppressor. You know, that regardless what gun you're going to put it on, you always got to deal with that, have a legal suppressor. But then after that, the only two negatives if you put a suppressor on a bolt gun is added length and added weight. There is no other negative. You know, it doesn't dirty up the gun anymore. It's quiet because the action is closed. However, if you put it on a semi-auto, it's always going to be louder because now you've got the action noise, you know, of the gun cycling that you don't have with a bolt gun. And with any direct impingement gun, like an AR-15, it blows a lot of trash back in the gun and it dirties the gun up substantially faster than a non-suppressed gun. So you do have those two negatives running it on an AR. But you know, like I say, on a bolt gun, it's kind of, you got to have one kind of thing, you know.
Well, it doesn't disturb the neighbors. If you go to other countries, England, which is as anti-gun a country as you'll get, these are called mufflers. And interestingly, they call their automobile mufflers silencers. And when I was over there, you did not need a permit to buy one. You were considered a gentleman, thoughtful of your neighbors, if you put one of these on to go plinking in your backyard on the farm to reduce the sound. Finally, before we close, there is one other advantage that a lot of people miss. You're going to have to go through the NFA protocols to get the license for the suppressor. We all have heard that almost cliched phrase, card-carrying good guy. If you think about it, there ain't too many better good guy cards than one that says you were investigated for about 6 months by federal agents, and they determined you to be a suitable person to own something like this. I don't think that's going to hurt either, and if you've gone through it, don't forget, that's one advantage that you've already paid for.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank you for tuning in. As I said, we invite your comments, and we hope you'll subscribe to the Wilson Combat channel. We'll all look forward to seeing you down the road.